Question 1. In light of recent developments, a large enterprise with a rapidly expanding remote workforce is evaluating deployment models for their checkpoint architecture. The company requires a scalable solution that separates management from enforcement, provides centralized policy control, and supports high availability across multiple geographic regions. Their leadership is debating between standalone and distributed deployments. Which of the following deployment models would best satisfy their requirements? A. Standalone deployment with local Smart Console access on each gateway. B. Distributed deployment with a central security management server and multiple security gateways. C. Hybrid deployment with Smart Console and Smart Dashboard deployed independently. D. High availability cluster using only management high availability without gateways. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. A distributed deployment separates the security management server from the security gateways, allowing centralized policy control and scalability across regions. This setup is ideal for large organizations with complex environments. A standalone deployment is limited in scalability as the management and enforcement reside on the same device. Hybrid deployment, C, is described as not an official point term. Management without gateways. D, fails to meet enforcement separation and scaling requirements. Reference Checkpoint Admin Guide. Deployment options. Question 2. From a practical standpoint, if the SIC certificate on a security gateway expires and the administrator manually renews the certificate using the CLI but forgets to reinitialize trust in Smart Console, what will be the most likely outcome? A. The security gateway will still receive policy updates without issues. B. SIC status will remain communicating since the certificate was renewed. C. SIC status will show trust established, but policy installation will fail. D. SIC will break, and policy installation will not be possible until reinitialized in Smart Console. Answer. Correct answer. D. Explanation. SIC uses certificate-based trust, and even after a manual renewal of the certificate, trust must be reinitialized in Smart Console to ensure communication integrity between the security management server and the gateway. Without this, SIC will fail, breaking policy installation. A, B, and C are incorrect because policy distribution depends on valid and synchronized SIC trust. Reference Checkpoint Secure Internal Communication White Paper. Question 3. The evolution of object management in Checkpoint Smart Console has simplified the creation of host and network objects. An administrator creates a host object but mistakenly enters an incorrect IP address. This object is then used in a rule allowing unrestricted SSH access. What is the most immediate risk posed by this configuration? A. Legitimate users will not be able to access the server via SSH. B. The rule will be skipped because of the incorrect object. C. The firewall will block the rule due to invalid syntax. D. An unintended host will receive full SSH access due to the misconfigured object. Answer. Correct answer. D. Explanation. A misconfigured host object with the wrong IP can cause unintended access, particularly dangerous in rules permitting administrative access like SSH. Checkpoint does not validate IP ownership, so access is granted to whatever IP was entered. A and B underestimate the real-world risk, and C is incorrect as the rule is syntactically valid. Reference Checkpoint R.10 Smart Console Admin Guide. Question 4. While examining a security policy audit, a reviewer finds a rule base that has over 250 rules, including numerous accept all rules toward the end. The administrator defends this by stating that earlier rules are specific and override the later ones. What is the key security flaw in this argument? A. Checkpoint evaluates rules in parallel, not sequentially. B. Accept all rules never override specific rules. C. Later rules can override earlier ones if they have higher priority. D. Traffic matching earlier rules is accepted, but accept all at the end introduces risk for unmatched traffic. Answer. Correct answer. D. Explanation. Checkpoint evaluates rules top-down, and traffic is matched against the first rule that applies. Although early rules may handle specific traffic, a broad accept all rule at the end allows all other traffic, potentially including malicious or unauthorized access. A is false. Rules are evaluated sequentially. B and C misstate how rule precedence works. Reference Checkpoint Security Management ARP Policy Evaluation Process. Question 5. Through careful analysis of SmartVeep tracker logs, an administrator observes that connections are accepted by the firewall but are not being processed by the destination server. Which tool should the administrator use next to investigate whether the packets are leaving the security gateway's external interface? A. CPU BFW C. SmartLog. D. Smart Update. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. FWUnitor is a low-level packet capture tool that can trace a packet through the firewall's kernel chain, i.e. it can verify if packets exit the external interface, assisting in diagnosing forwarding issues. A. Provides performance metrics. C. Is log-based only. And D. Is for software distribution. Reference. Checkpoint CLI Reference Guide. FWUnitor. Question 6. To illustrate this point, an administrator needs to allow access to an internal database server for employees in the finance department but restrict access during weekends. What is the best practice to implement this rule in Checkpoint Smart Console? A. Use access role objects without any time restrictions. B. Create a rule with a time object specifying weekday-only access. C. Allow unrestricted access and monitor via logs. D. Enable threat prevention on the database object. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Checkpoint allows time objects to be assigned to rules, enabling time-based access control. This allows the administrator to enforce weekday-only access. A. Lacks the temporal condition. C. Violates proactive security principles. D. Relates to malware prevention, not access control. Reference. Checkpoint Smart Console are rule-based time objects. Question 7. Based on the information, an administrator configures both automatic NAT and manual NAT rules for a single host object. The manual rule is listed above the automatic ones in the NAT rule base. What will be the result of this configuration? A. Automatic NAT will override manual NAT for outbound traffic. B. Both rules will apply and the firewall will alternate between them. C. Manual NAT rules take precedence and override automatic NAT. D. The object will be translated twice, once by each rule type. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. In Checkpoint, manual NAT rules take precedence over automatic NAT. Only the first matching NAT rule is applied per packet. A is false. B misrepresents NAT behavior. D cannot happen. A double translation does not occur. Reference. Checkpoint NAT concepts are guide. Question 8. A key distinction between user profiles in Checkpoint Smart Console is the ability to define granular access rights. An organization wants an admin to view logs and reports, but restrict them from modifying security policies. What is the correct permission profile for this scenario? A. Read-only all. B. Custom with only smart event read permissions. C. Auditor profile. D. Superuser. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. The read-only all profile allows viewing all configurations and logs without modification privileges. It suits auditors or monitoring roles. B would be too restrictive without proper logging access. C is correct for auditing but may be less flexible than A. D grants full permissions, which violates the least privilege principle. Reference. Checkpoint Admin Guide. Permission profiles. Question 9. In response to a failed VPN tunnel between two branch offices, the administrator discovers that the encryption domains overlap. What should the administrator do to resolve this conflict? A. Configure permanent tunnels with aggressive mode. B. Redefine the encryption domains to eliminate overlapping subnets. C. Increase the VPN community timeout. D. Add a static route between the two encryption domains. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Overlapping encryption domains cause VPN negotiation failures as gateways cannot determine proper traffic matching. The solution is to redefine the domains to eliminate overlap. A changes the mode but doesn't resolve overlap. C and D do not address the encryption mismatch issue. Reference. Checkpoint VPN Guide. Domain-based VPNs. Question 10. The conventional wisdom about Checkpoint software updates is that Smart Update is the go-to tool. However, an administrator attempts to update a remote gateway with Smart Update but receives a connectivity error. What could be the primary reason for this issue? A. The gateway is not part of the VPN community. B. Smart Update requires ATS access from the Smart Console machine. C. The security gateway object is missing licensing information. D. The SIG trust has been broken between the management server and gateway. Answer. Correct answer, D. Explanation. Smart Update depends on valid SIG trust to communicate with managed gateways. If SIG is broken, updates and policy pushes fail. A. May affect VPN connectivity, not Smart Update. B. Is irrelevant. Communication is SIG-based. C. Might affect feature use, not connectivity. Reference. Checkpoint Smart Update Guide. Question 11. By comparing two identical checkpoint policy configurations deployed on separate gateways, an auditor observes a significant performance difference between the two environments. Both have the same rules, but one has hundreds of inactive or unused rules. What is the likely explanation for the degraded performance in the second environment? A. Rule caching only works in clustered deployments. B. Inactive rules are processed first, delaying rule matching. C. Checkpoint evaluates every rule sequentially, including unused ones, affecting throughput. D. The second gateway is in bridge mode, which adds additional processing. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. Checkpoint firewalls evaluate rules sequentially from top to bottom, and even unused or inactive rules consume resources during evaluation. This affects performance, especially when the rule base is large or poorly optimized. A and B are incorrect. Rule caching is not mode specific and inactive rules are not prioritized. D does not apply unless explicitly configured in bridge mode, which wasn't stated. Reference. R. Security policy performance best practices. Question 12. To what extent does SmartView Tracker differ from SmartLog when monitoring high-volume environments with real-time analysis requirements? Which of the following is the most appropriate tool for high-speed log indexing and search capabilities in such environments? A. SmartEvent. B. Smart Console. C. SmartLog. D. FWNetApp. Answer. Correct answer, C. Explanation. SmartLog is designed for real-time indexed log analysis, making it highly suitable for large environments needing fast searches across vast log volumes. A. SmartEvent is for correlation. B. Smart Console provides access but not high-speed analysis. D. is for packet-level inspection, not log analysis. Reference. Checkpoint SmartLog Administration Guide. Question 13. The foundation of access control in checkpoint environments rests on least privilege principles. Suppose a junior admin accidentally deletes a rule in Smart Console while reviewing policy. Which permission setting would best prevent such accidents without restricting all access? A. Read-only all. B. Monitor-only. C. Custom profile with read access and no write-delete privileges. D. Full access with audit trail enabled. Answer. Correct answer, C. Explanation. A custom permission profile tailored to allow read-only or review actions without write-delete permissions is ideal. This balances usability and protection. A is valid but less flexible. B isn't. A default profile. D still permits unwanted changes despite audit trails. Reference. Admin Guide. Our role-based access control are back. Question 14. As a result of misconfigured VPN settings, remote employees are unable to reach internal resources after connecting through the VPN tunnel. After checking the encryption domains, everything appears correct. What is the most likely cause of this issue? A. Overlapping encryption domains. B. Misconfigured NAT rules post-encryption. C. Phase 1 settings mismatch. D. Split tunneling improperly set to off. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. If NAT rules are incorrectly applied after encryption, traffic can be dropped or rerouted unexpectedly. NAT should not affect VPN-included traffic unless explicitly needed. A is ruled out as domains are stated as correct. C and D would prevent tunnel setup or general traffic, not selective routing issues. Reference VPN Admin Guide, NAT and VPN interoperability. Question 15. Taking into account the firewall's role in the OC model, an administrator wants to inspect traffic payloads for known threats. At which layer must the firewall operate to enable full payload inspection? A. Network layer. B. Session layer. C. Application layer. D. Data link layer. Answer. Correct answer, C. Explanation. Application layer inspection enables visibility into payloads necessary for antivirus, content filtering, and A handles IPS routing only. B deals with sessions but not content. D is at the physical interface level. Checkpoint edge BZO deep packet inspection at layer 7 reference. Checkpoint threat prevention architecture. Question 16. When presented with an overly permissive rule like any, except the CISO requests that the rule be refined without disrupting business operations, which action aligns with checkpoint best practices. A. Immediately disable the rule and monitor complaints. B. Use hit count analysis and gradually replace with specific rules. C. Modify the rule to drop all traffic until exceptions are identified. D. Remove the rule and rely on NAT for segmentation. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Hit count analysis helps identify which services or hosts are actually using the permissive rule. It enables safe segmentation and refinement. A and C are disruptive. D misunderstands NAT. It does not provide access control reference. Smart Console Policy Optimization Guide. Question 17. Throughout the course of a recovery scenario, an administrator attempts to restore a corrupted security gateway using backup files. However, only the OR-level backup was retained, not the Gaia configuration or firewall policy. What key component is missing from the restoration process? A. Snapshot taken via Gaia portal. B. Only the Access config network file. C. Security management server certificate. D. The static routes configuration. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. A Gaia snapshot includes OS settings, configurations, and checkpoint components, making it the most complete restore method. B and D are partial files. C matters for SIG but not the full firewall config reference. Gaia administration guide. Backup and restore procedures. Question 18. When analyzing rule logs, an admin finds that a specific rule has 0 hits for over 90 days. However, the rule was intended to allow internal DNS queries. What is the most probable cause? A. DNS traffic is being NAT translated and doesn't match the rule. B. The rule is placed below a more general DNS rule that accepts the traffic. C. The DNS service was not added to the rule. D. The firewall dropped DNS because inspection was disabled. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. In checkpoints top-down rule evaluation, if general rule higher in the policy matches the DNS traffic, the specific rule below never gets triggered. A is unlikely unless NAT breaks matching logic. C would still show drops. D is incorrect unless inspection profiles block it. Reference. Rule matching. Admin guide R. Question 19. The contemporary view of network segmentation recommends tagging host objects with logical groupings and organization plans to assign meaningful labels to servers, e.g., HR finance, to simplify policy creation. Which feature in Checkpoint helps achieve this design? A. Inline layers. B. Security zones. C. Network groups. D. Access role tags. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. Network groups allow multiple hosts networks to be grouped logically, simplifying rule referencing, while A and B provide policy structure and D applies to users. C is best suited for object grouping in firewall rules. Reference. Smart Console Object Management Guide. Question 20. Among the various diagnostic techniques an admin notices, a persistent TCP connection fails after a SYN is sent. Which checkpoint tool would best help identify the point of failure in the packet path? A. TCE dump. B. ipinfo EOE D. FW uniter. Answer. Correct answer. D. Explanation. FW uniter can trace packets through the firewall kernel, displaying each phase inbound, outbound, proposed NAT. It's ideal for pinpointing where a C handshake fails. They lacks kernel chain visibility. B. Collects system info, and C is useful but verbose for this use case. Reference. Checkpoint kernel debugging tools. Question 21. As demonstrated by a recent breach simulation, the internal security team discovered that after re-establishing SIC between the security management server and security gateway, old certificates were still being used during communication attempts. What step was most likely skipped by the administrator during the SIC reset process? A. Reinstalling the access control policy after resetting SIC. B. Rebooting the security management server to flush the certificate cache. C. Generating a new firewall policy signature using cpconfig. D. Removing the gateway object and recreating it before reset. Answer. Correct answer A. Explanation. After resetting and re-establishing SIG, the access control policy must be reinstalled to apply the new trust configuration. Without this, the gateway continues using previous policies based on the old certificate. B is unnecessary for SIG. C is unrelated to certificate management. D is drastic and rarely required. Reference: Checkpoint SIG reset procedure or admin guide. Question 22. The general consensus is that enabling explicit cleanup rules improves policy clarity. An administrator relies solely on the implicit cleanup rule and omits an explicit one at the bottom of the policy. What is the primary risk associated with this approach? A. It causes the firewall to reboot unexpectedly during policy installation. B. Logs from implicitly dropped traffic are less visible unless logging is enabled. C. The policy will not compile due to a missing mandatory rule. D. Explicit cleanup rules slow down rule processing significantly. Answer. Correct answer B. Explanation. Implicit cleanup rules by default silently drop traffic without logging unless configured. An explicit rule A. G. Drop plus log improves visibility and auditability. A and C are incorrect. Implicit rules are default. D is incorrect. Rule evaluation is unaffected. Reference: R. Policy management best practices. Question 23. Given the circumstances, the director, a university wants to assign internet access to students during specific hours but provide full access to faculty staff. The network uses identity awareness. Which configuration is best suited for this use case? A. Create two firewall rules with access roles based on user groups and apply time objects. B. Define network groups and assign them access policies by IP. C. Use NAT rules to redirect student traffic to an internal proxy during off hours. D. Implement a static policy using inline layers with accept and drop actions. Answer. Correct answer A. Explanation. Using access roles mapped to add user groups combined with time objects allows policy-based access tailored to user identity and time. B. Lacks identity awareness. C. Misuses NAT for access control. D is too static and lacks flexibility. Reference: Identity Awareness Admin Guide. Time-based rules. Question 24. In comparison with real-time logs, a delayed view of dropped packets was observed in SmartLog, making it difficult to troubleshoot an active attack. Which settings should the administrator verify first to improve real-time visibility of logs? A. Smart event automatic correlation threshold. B. Indexing settings on the log server. C. Log forwarding delay settings in SmartView Tracker. D. Firewall buffer overflow timeout values. Answer. Correct answer B. Explanation. SmartLog uses index logs for rapid searches. If indexing is delayed or misconfigured, log visibility suffers. Ensuring proper indexing settings on the log server restores real-time monitoring. A. C and D are not directly related to log delay issues. Reference: SmartLog Troubleshooting Guide. Log indexer settings. Question 25. When evaluating the merits of a manual NAT versus automatic NAT setup, an administrator wants to NAT internal DNS servers to external IPS only for specific external queries. Which configuration is most appropriate? A. Use hide NAT with automatic rules for outbound DNS. B. Create a manual NAT rule specifying source, destination, and service. C. Rely solely on static NAT with no manual rules. D. VPN community NAT exclusions. Answer. Correct answer B. Explanation. Manual NAT provides granular control, allowing NAT for specific traffic types. E. G. DNS. This flexibility is required here. Automatic NAT lacks service-specific rules. C and D do not meet the condition-specific requirement. Reference: NAT rule-based concepts. Checkpoint R. Question 26. As evidenced by update failures, an organization discovers that certain gateways are not reachable via Smart Update during software push operations. Network connectivity is intact and SIC is valid. What else should the administrator verify? A. Whether SSH is enabled between the management server and gateway. B. If policy installation is blocked by scheduled tasks. C. That the firewall allows COMI-HETS traffic from Smart Update. D. Whether the gateway object has threat prevention enabled. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. Smart Update operations require EMITET success to function. Even with SICK network reachability, blocked ports can prevent push operations. A. SSH is not required. B. Doesn't apply to Smart Update. D. Is irrelevant to update connectivity. Reference. Smart Update Admin Guide. Port requirements. Question 27. The underlying principle of object abstraction in firewall configuration is to reduce error and improve maintainability. However, an admin hardcodes IP addresses in firewall rules instead of using objects. What is the most significant downside of this approach? A. The firewall will reject rules with direct IP addresses. B. Hardcoding disables rule-based logging. C. It increases risk of misconfiguration and complicates policy changes. D. It disables NAT functionality on affected rules. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. Hardcoding IPS removes the benefit of centralized object management, leading to higher error rates and making policy updates more complex. A, B, and D are incorrect. Rules with raw IPS are syntactically valid, but not best practice. Reference. Smart Dashboard Object Management Best Practices. Question 20. The most significant aspect of inline layers in checkpoints policy is to offer modular control. Suppose an admin uses an inline layer in the middle of rule base and disables logging for the parent rule. What is the result of this configuration? A. All logging from inline layer rules is ignored. B. The inline layer cannot be evaluated without parent rule logging. C. Inline layer logging settings take precedence over parent rule. D. Rule installation will fail due to inconsistent logging. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. Inline layer logging is independent and can override parent rule logging. Even if the parent rule has logging off, inline layer rules can still log events. A and B are incorrect. Inline layers have their own logic. D is false. The policy installs normally. Reference. Checkpoint R inline layers admin guide. Question 29. A critical examination of a suspected brute force attack reveals thousands of login attempts of ATT. The admin wants to identify the geographic origin of these attempts using checkpoint tools. Which solution offers geographic visibility of traffic patterns? A. Smart log filters. B. Threat card geo protection. E. Dialog with ECP state tracking. D. NAT table inspection. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Geoprotection powered by ThreatCloud allows administrators to filter block traffic based on geographic origin. It's ideal for identifying and mitigating region-based threats. A is useful for event filtering. C is too low level. And D, unrelated. Reference. Threat prevention. Geoprotection configuration. Question 30. In a modern context of disaster recovery, an enterprise wants to ensure minimal downtime for its security management server. They perform a Gaia snapshot weekly and scheduled exports via Migrate Export. Which risk remains despite this backup strategy? A. OL-level configurations will be missing after a restore. B. Certificates for SICK will be corrupted after export. C. The snapshot may not include Smart Console user profiles. D. Scheduled backups may overwrite active configuration sessions. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. Migrate Export captures policy, objects, and management data, but not OL-level settings like routes, interface configs, or host names. This is where Gaia snapshots are essential. However, if only Migrate Export is restored, OS configs are lost. B, C, and D are either rare or false. Reference. Our backup and migration guide.